3 days after saying "I do," she was dead. Rebecca Morgan, 63 years old, successful businesswoman, millionaire, gone. Her new husband, 30-year-old Derek Sullivan, stood over her hospital bed with tears streaming down his face. But those tears, they were part of the performance. Because Rebecca wasn't his first victim, she was number 5, and he almost got away with it. What if the person sleeping next to you right now has already planned your funeral? What if every kiss, every "I love you," every gentle touch was just part of a scheme to drain your bank account and bury you 6 feet under? This is the story of a predator who turned romance into a weapon, a man who killed 5 women across America, and the daughter who refused to let him walk away. Welcome to Unseen Crime Stories. I'm your host, and what you're about to hear will change the way you think about trust forever. Rebecca Morgan wasn't born rich. She built her fortune with blood, sweat, and ruthless determination. In 1985, she started Morgan Financial Consulting in Portland, Oregon. By 2015, Rebecca Morgan was one of the most respected financial consultants on the West Coast, managing over $200 million in portfolios. But empires demand sacrifices. Her marriage to David Morgan lasted 18 years before it crumbled. "You care more about your business than you care about me," David said in 2010. Rebecca didn't deny it. The divorce was expensive, but clean. For the next decade, Rebecca threw herself deeper into work. In 2022, at age 62, she sold her company for $15 million and retired to her mansion in Laurelhurst, and absolutely no one to share it with. Her daughter Maya visited twice a year. Her son Marcus called once a month. Her business friends had scattered, retired, moved away, died. Rebecca had everything money could buy, and nothing that mattered. The loneliness was quiet, persistent, like a weight that grew heavier each day. She began to fantasize about companionship, someone to have breakfast with, someone to laugh with. But she had rules. She wouldn't date younger men. That was for desperate women. Until August 2023, when everything changed. August 12, 2023, the Portland Art Museum fundraiser. Derek Sullivan watched Rebecca from across the room. He'd been studying her for 3 weeks. He knew her net worth, her daily routine, her loneliness. He knew she was perfect. Derek was 30 years old, handsome, charming, but Derek Sullivan wasn't his real name. He'd been born Marcus Anthony Webb in Sacramento in 1993. His childhood was chaos, drugs, prison, foster homes. By 16, he'd learned that charm was a tool and trust was a weapon. At 18, he seduced a wealthy widow. She changed her will. 6 months later, she died of an overdose. Marcus inherited $800,000 and disappeared. That was his awakening. Over the next 12 years, Marcus perfected his craft: fake identities, psychology, manipulation, and how to kill without leaving evidence. By the time he targeted Rebecca, he'd already murdered 4 women and stolen over $10 million. At the museum, Derek approached Rebecca at the wine table. "Terrible art, isn't it?" he said with a smile. Rebecca laughed. "I thought I was the only one thinking that." They talked for 20 minutes. Derek asked thoughtful questions, listened intently, made her feel interesting. Then he walked away without asking for her number. Leave them wanting more. Over the next 2 weeks, Derek, coincidentally, appeared at her yoga class, at Whole Foods, at charity events. Each conversation grew longer, more personal. On August 30th, Derek asked her to dinner. Rebecca hesitated, thinking about her rules, her dignity. But Derek's smile made her feel hope. "Yes," she said. I'd like that." Inside, Derek was already calculating how much she was worth. Their first date was perfect. Derek was the gentleman, attentive, humble, interested in her life. When Rebecca asked about him, Derek deployed his backstory. "I grew up in Montana. My parents were teachers. They died in a car accident a few years ago. Since then, I've been searching for what matters." He looked vulnerable, authentic. Rebecca's heart ached for him. Over the next month, Derek called her every night. He brought thoughtful gifts, a book by her favorite author, her preferred tea, flowers on ordinary Tuesdays. He never asked for anything, never hinted at financial need. He paid for dinners. This was critical. He needed Rebecca to trust he wasn't after her money. By mid-September, Derek had gathered everything he needed. Rebecca was worth $18 million. She had a heart condition and took daily medication. Her children were distant, no one to ask questions if something happened. She was perfect. Derek began introducing conversations about the future, about commitment. "I can't imagine my future without you," he said one evening, "but I need to be honest. I don't have much money. I don't want you to think I'm with you for financial reasons." Brilliant reverse psychology. By explicitly stating he wasn't after her money, Derek made Rebecca believe he definitely wasn't. The next night, he proposed. September 28, 2023. Derek knelt before Rebecca in her living room. "Rebecca Morgan, you've changed my life. I know I don't have much to offer financially, but I can give you my heart. Will you marry me?" Rebecca's hands shook. Part of her screamed this was too fast, but the lonely part drowned out the warnings. "Yes," she whispered. Derek moved quickly. He suggested a small, intimate wedding. No time for second thoughts. Then came the critical move, changing Rebecca's will. "Now that we're getting married, we should update our estate plans," Derek said casually. "I've already updated my will to include you." 2 days later, Rebecca made Derek the primary beneficiary of her $18 million estate and her $3 million life insurance policy. When she told Derek, he acted surprised, honored, humbled. "You didn't have to do that. I would love you even if you had nothing." Rebecca believed him. The wedding was scheduled for October 14. Behind the scenes, Derek prepared for murder. He began replacing Rebecca's heart medication with placebos, sugar pills that looked identical, just enough to weaken her heart without immediate suspicion. Rebecca felt more tired than usual, occasionally short of breath, but she attributed it to wedding stress. Derek watched her decline with the patience of a predator. October 14, 2023. The ceremony was small, elegant. Rebecca's daughter Maya attended with visible reluctance. Everything about Derek screamed wrong to her. The perfect smile, the vague stories, the whirlwind romance. She'd tried to voice concerns. "Mom, don't you think this is moving fast?" "I'm 63 years old, Maya. I don't have time to move slow." At the ceremony, Maya watched Derek say his vows and felt sick. The words were perfect, but his eyes were cold, calculating. After the reception, the newlyweds returned to Rebecca's mansion. "I can't believe we're married," Rebecca said, squeezing his hand. Derek smiled. "Best decision I've ever made." It was the last happy moment Rebecca would ever have. October 16, 2023, 2 days after the wedding. Derek had gradually reduced Rebecca's medication over 3 weeks. By the wedding, she was taking almost entirely placebos. That morning, Derek crushed 6 heart pills into powder and mixed them into her coffee. 6 times the normal dose, enough to trigger cardiac arrest. He served her breakfast in bed. "You're spoiling me," Rebecca laughed, taking a sip. "You deserve it," Derek replied, watching her drink the poisoned coffee. 45 minutes later, Rebecca's face went pale. "Derek, I don't feel right." Her hand went to her chest. Her breathing became rapid, shallow. Derek's face shifted into perfect concern. He dialed 911, his voice frantic. "My wife, she can't breathe. I think she's having a heart attack. Please send someone." Rebecca tried to speak, but no words came. Her grip weakened. Derek watched the life drain from her eyes. The paramedics arrived in 8 minutes. They rushed her to the hospital, but Rebecca was already gone. Her heart stopped at 11:47 a.m. At the hospital, doctors pronounced Rebecca Morgan dead at 12:03 p.m. Cardiac arrest due to pre-existing heart condition. Derek collapsed in the waiting room, devastated. Everyone believed the performance. Inside, he was calculating. $18 million estate, $3 million life insurance. Total, $21 million. His biggest score yet. But Derek had made a critical mistake. He'd underestimated Rebecca's daughter. Maya received the call at 1:15 p.m. "Your mother passed away this afternoon. Cardiac arrest." Maya stood frozen. Her mother was dead 2 days after marrying a man she'd known for 2 months. Every instinct screamed something was wrong. At the hospital, Derek told his story. Breakfast, normal conversation, sudden collapse. Every detail was perfect. Too perfect. "What medication was she taking?" "Her heart medication. I made sure she never missed a dose." That sentence made Maya pause. Why would Derek need to monitor her medication? The next morning, Maya requested an autopsy with toxicology. 3 days later, the report arrived. Rebecca Morgan had died from a massive overdose of her heart medication, 6 times the normal dose. Someone had given her a lethal dose, and only one person had access. Maya ran a deeper background check. Derek Sullivan had no employment history, no tax filings, no credit history before 2023. He didn't exist before this year. She ran his photo through facial recognition. The system flagged 4 matches, 4 different names, 4 different states. Maya's stomach dropped as she pulled up the files. Chicago, 2020. Jason Torres married Margaret Harrison, 59. She died 6 weeks later. He inherited $2.3 million. Miami, 2021. Kenneth Black married Catherine Lopez, 61. She died 3 months later. He inherited $3.1 million. Denver, 2022. Marcus Webb married Linda Peterson, 58. She died 7 weeks later. He inherited $4.2 million. Phoenix, 2023. Derek Sullivan married Diane Foster, 65. She died 8 weeks later. He inherited $3.8 million. 5 women, 5 marriages, 5 deaths, 5 inheritances. Her mother was part of a pattern, a serial killer's pattern. Maya contacted the FBI, police departments, and the victims' families. Everyone told the same story. Charming younger man, whirlwind romance, changed will, sudden death, disappeared with fortune. On October 23rd, Maya presented her findings to the district attorney. A warrant was issued for Derek's arrest. Derek knew the net was closing. On October 23rd at 11:30 p.m., he packed cash, fake IDs, and slipped out. He planned to drive to Seattle, fly to Mexico, disappear forever. But Maya had placed a GPS tracker on his car and coordinated with state police. At 11:47 p.m., Derek's car was spotted heading south on Interstate 5. Police intercepted. Derek hit 95 miles per hour. His car hit spike strips near Wilsonville. Both front tires exploded. The car spun into a concrete barrier. Derek tried to run, but a dozen officers surrounded him. "Get on the ground, now." He dropped to his knees. It was over. Maya arrived 15 minutes later. She walked to the patrol car where Derek sat. Their eyes met through the window. Derek's expression was cold, emotionless. No more tears, no more charm. Just the predator beneath the mask. "You killed my mother," Maya said quietly, "and you're going to pay for it." The trial began February 5, 2024. It lasted 6 weeks. National media covered every detail. The prosecution presented devastating evidence: 5 identities, 5 marriages, 5 deaths, 5 inheritances, toxicology reports showing lethal overdoses, financial records proving motive. Derek's defense claimed tragic coincidence. It was a weak strategy. The most powerful moment came when Maya testified. She stood before the jury and told them about her mother, brilliant, lonely, vulnerable, how Derek had exploited that vulnerability, how he'd stolen not just her money, but her hope. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: 5 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of fraud. Marcus Anthony Webb was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. In the courtroom, Maya felt no satisfaction, no relief, just profound sadness for her mother and the 4 other women who'd been betrayed by someone they loved. Derek Sullivan, Marcus Webb, sits in prison today serving his sentence at Oregon State Penitentiary. The families of his 5 victims have filed civil suits to recover their stolen inheritances. Most of the money has been recovered and returned. Maya Harris left the police force and now works as a consultant, helping families identify and prosecute romance scammers targeting vulnerable people. Rebecca Morgan's story is a reminder that predators don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like charming young men with perfect smiles and practiced tears. Trust your instincts, ask questions, protect the people you love, because sometimes the person who promises forever is actually planning your funeral. This has been Unseen Crime Stories. If this story affected you, please share it. Drop a comment below, and remember, stay safe out there. Until next time.